Okay, we need let's see, let me get Live the Life in here. Dimitri. Okay, so I'm going to post the link in the Mount Olympus chat.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun, dude. The question is, did you tweet as you're going around? That is the question. That's a proof of attendance right there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
If you are in if you are in GatherTown right now, you might want to reduce the volume of the speakers momentarily, as we're in the Discord collecting ohms at the moment.
Collecting and sending.
Yeah, exactly.
What's up, RCP? Drondin.
We're doing kind of a new approach here, trying to get people on GatherTown, so bear with us. If you're in the stage and in GatherTown, just mute one of them. Like, just reduce the volume of the speakers in one of the two events, and we will be sending people to GatherTown shortly.
Walkabout. You're not a collectible yet. Not yet.
And the link is in Mount Olympus chat, just above the Mount Olympus stage. So Shreddy, just before we start, we're probably gonna have one person periodically, just like lower volume of everybody in GatherTown, and just come into the Discord stage and remind people to go to the GatherTown link.
Mm-hmm.
So I might do that every once in a while, but if like a few of us can do that, that'd be dope.
Yes, Z. Apologies. I had accidentally said the mint was happening, but I quickly changed that. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. My Friday brain.
Okay, I'm gonna hop into the GatherTown and remind LTL to come here.
Sure.
So just bear with me for a second.
Z, I totally get you, man. I keep my treasure in a drawer, and I don't want to bend down to get that thing every time. Too much work. Safer, but
All right.
not the most clean. Yeah. So
They're coming
people
shortly. Let me just give them the link.
No problem.
And we will be speaking on the stage here, but we'll also be speaking in GatherTown. So if people are in both, you're going to need to mute the speakers on one of the platforms, either Discord or GatherTown.
Hmm. Good point. Good point.
Let me get this link to LTL.
I'm here already next to you.
Yeah, so for you to send this to Dimitri, because we need him in here.
Do a lot of dancing. I have to say, this is the most effortless dancing I've ever got to do.
So we just need to get LTL in here. People can listen through Discord if they want, but just a reminder, go into the Mount Olympus chat, and there's a GatherTown link there that you can click.
How's everybody's Friday going? Give me a little type in the chat or anybody on stage.
Going good, man. It's going good.
I mean,
We're juggling two voice chats.
yes. No, it might be a Saturday for some Aussies, maybe even, right? Yeah. Well, maybe just now waking up if you're an early riser.
See, so LTL, just let me know when Dimitri is in this Discord server, in this stage.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
DMing him.
Now here's the question.
You got a
What
question?
do I need to have muted so that I'm not echoing in both places?
Right. So everybody's going to need to choose which one they want to listen in. You either need to mute everything in GatherTown or mute everything in here. Right. So you lower the volume of everybody on the stage in Discord and just listen in GatherTown.
Gotcha.
So in fact, I think we should just encourage everybody to lower the volume of everybody on Discord, and listen in GatherTown, and then every once in a while we'll just come and do a call to action for people to go to GatherTown. The link is in the Mount Olympus chat, just above the stage there.
Okay, so you don't need to hear me in Discord, is what I'm asking.
Well, I do just because I want to.
Beautiful.
But you don't have to.
You need to mute one. You need to lower the volume in one. So lower the volume in Discord, right?
The brain.
We should just have everybody lower volume in Discord and listen in the GatherTown. I think that's probably the smoothest way to do it.
Yeah, if possible, if everybody could go ahead and check that link that we've sent.
So if you right click our name here in the stage, you can lower our volume. So just do that and listen in the GatherTown.
And Ashen, to answer your question, why would you want to join in GatherTown? Well, if you've ever used it, it's actually pretty fun. It's very get to be a little person and walk around. It's like a video game. But you can also hear the entire conference.
LTL, I think that maybe we should just let Dimitri stay in GatherTown and not come here. That way people can mute in here and just go to GatherTown. So let's just not bother Dimitri with doing both.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
Yeah, I think he's good if he's just here in GatherTown.
Yeah, and we'll just periodically funnel people from here in Discord to the GatherTown.
I could even also just line in the audio if you need.
That
If
works.
you do want to at least have something here and over at the Discord server here.
I think we'd like to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever's easiest.
Yeah, I could do that, and you guys can just mute here then, and then I'll pick up the audio from GatherTown, whatever's going on live.
Nice. That's perfect. So just another reminder: there's the link is in Mount Olympus chat to the GatherTown.
I'm gonna be primarily in here. Just let me know when that when the audio is linked up.
Well, while we're waiting, thanks everybody for being here. We're definitely excited to talk to you today about the Genesis collection. I'm excited to figure out how to talk to you in a second.
Flame, is that you? Because it's very funny to listen to you coming out of J-Man.
Yeah, Flame, you're echoing.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So just mute.
You can mute yourself in Discord because I'm lining in the audio.
Oh,
You
no,
should
no, he's
mute yourself.
he's muted. He's muted. It's just funny to see him coming from
Oh,
coming
for J-Man, yeah.
J-Man, yeah. I was like, wait a second.
Okay, how's that?
Just exit. Just exit
Got some
Discord.
feedback in the background.
Yeah, just oh, that's tough.
Mathematics, can you please check the hand?
Okay, how about now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
What were you asking?
Dimitri is raising his hand.
Got him.
Here we go.
But I think you should probably just speak in GatherTown, and then we'll all mute, and people in here can listen, and I'll just moderate the chat. And if Dimitri wants to talk in the chat in here, then he can do so.
Next time we do this, I feel like we need a warm-up guy and a t-shirt cannon.
That's
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey man, I mean, yeah, if you the music is what keeps the people going in here.
Oh,
While we get
the
started.
music spot is down.
Nah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Very sad.
While we wait patiently.
What's going on, Odyssey fam?
Yo.
Welcome everyone. It's great to see all the Ohmies joining.
Yo, oh man. Can you hear me? Fine.
What's going on?
What's up, brother?
What on, Father?
Yeah. I was,
Hey, Don.
what's
Welcome.
going on, homie? What are you doing?
Make some room for you right there.
There we go. There we go. Let's go. I kind of just hopped in to say hello and see what's going on. Is this an AMA that you guys are doing, or what?
A Liliana ya lo pensé. Ella no me llama ni siquiera ya. Habló contigo 3 veces y ni siquiera preguntó por mí. ¿Quién fue? Vamos a ver, regalas a mí. Por favor.
You hear me?
Hello, hello.
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 Guys, ready? Whenever you're ready, let me know and I'll bring down the music.
I'm ready when you are, guys.
Go for it, Dimitri.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think we can start. Just if Dimitri, you want to stand in front of the fire up there? See the fire there?
And if everybody
Pretty
is,
good.
if anybody's wondering what fire, go ahead and join the
Three.
Gather Town, and you can participate, walk around, listen in person.
Fireplace is my favorite.
me? Can you hear me?
Should be good. If you're Dimitri, we have you spotlighted anyway, so no matter where you you stand, we've spotlighted you, so you can just talk to everyone
Okay,
outside.
Turn your mic on. Are you on mute? I think you're on mute. Otherwise, you should be.
Is Dimitri speaking? Because I am not able to hear him at the moment.
I don't.
No, LTL, we need you to go into the Gather Town.
Yeah, I am. There's so much echo.
Yeah, because we're lining in the audio to the Discord for those that can't join. You could just mute the Discord if you'd like. Does that help,
I
LTL?
think so. This is better right now.
Yeah, you sound great on my end.
Sounding good now?
Cool. Dimitri, you can actually unmute as well on Discord. And we can make this happen.
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
I'm
Yeah,
muted
this is kind of a like juggling between the two places, but it's pretty cool that we, we can welcome the concave community, but above all, you, Dimitri. We're super pleased to have you and talk a little bit more about your career, your passion for photography, your transition from analog to digital like 20 years ago. And maybe at the later tail of the talk, dive a little bit deeper in this exploration you've been doing as a pioneer with photogrammetry. But maybe let's start with the beginning, right? And that brings us back almost 25 years ago, where you were having this incredible opportunity of doing what I would call dream shoots. One of the shoots I think is pretty iconic and is a kind of a milestone for you was that moment when you had the two Anons avant la lettre with you, the crew of Daft Punk wearing the helmets. Maybe we can dive a little bit into that moment in time.
So first, thank you, Concav and Live the Life and Olympus, everyone for taking me on board, and really happy to be here tonight. So as you were saying, Live the Life, the Daft Punk shoot was back in 2008, and I've seen them without the helmet. Yes. They came to the studio with no helmets on their head, and so I know their faces. So the whole beginning of the shoot was actually for an underground magazine called Lemon Magazine. It's a US magazine, and it was created by two art directors I can't remember exactly where they were based, but like they were producing their own magazine and just make it perfect, like a very nice little piece. And they called me once and said, Dimitri, we would like you to shoot with Daft Punk. So would you be okay for that? And I was like, yes, for sure. And so, but their budget, I mean, the budget of the magazine was very, very low because they were paying it from their own pocket, basically. So I remember the two art directors flying from US to Paris, like in I think they had 2 or 3 flights, getting like very low cost flights, and it took them 24 hours almost to get from US to France. But they were so happy to be there and to meet Daft Punk and me, and so this is where they proposed me this project where was basically carte blanche, where what means I could do whatever I want and make my own stories with own stories as own images with Daft Punk. And so the beginning, we started with this cover shot, which was an homage. How do you say?
A tribute. Yeah.
Yeah, a tribute to David Bowie, Heroes album cover. And this is why in the shot they are posing, both of them exactly in the same pose as David Bowie was doing on Heroes album cover. And then from that we went to the main shot for me, that was the whole series, where I was creating a digital cyborg. But that shot, if you remember, that was back in 2008. So at that time there was no 3D basically. I mean, there was 3D for movies, but not in photography. In photography, some people were using 3D, but like for still life, and in a very kind of gamey renders, but nothing like high renders. I mean, in photography at that time, the resolution was way too big for 3D images. And so I came up with this idea of a cyborg, like a keepers of their secret, the only woman, the only cyborg who would be able to remove their helmets and know their identity. And so the Daft Punk were like, yeah, sure, we like the idea, and they accept to do the shoot. And I remember them coming to the studio in Paris, and I was expecting. I've been working with celebrities, and you always expect, like to come with their own crew and with a lot of people around them. And they actually came up, just the two of them, and we just spent the whole day shooting the different pose, the different attitude, and very, very nice things. And at the end of the day, I was like, I need to do an extra shoot, but just with the helmet. And they were like, we have to go, but if you want, we can leave you the helmet and just take the shoot you need, and you'll send it back tomorrow. And I was like, no way. The guys were leaving the studio without the helmet, and they just literally leave the helmet into my hands, and just could play with that and do whatever I want. But I guess that's also why I went so far in photography. It's because I respect that, and I told my assistant, don't even try to put it on your head. Like, no way, not even as a joke. So I took the shots that I needed, and make the last picture, which is the cyborg woman holding the two helmets on the two sides, and we finished the shot and sent them back the helmet. And I feel this image actually of the girl holding the two helmets is actually very symbolic right now, because the band does not exist anymore, and I actually like, yes, exactly that one. I feel actually that this picture now he's telling a lot. Like she's holding these two helmets. Maybe we'll see them back one day, but who knows? I don't know.
There's rumors that they want to like do a
There,
new
I mean,
gig this year, but it may be just like getting us all excited. I don't know. I have one friend who's also pretty connected with them, and he told me it might actually be happening. But so that would be really interesting. But I wanted to come back on that model. Like this is not just like computer generated
no.
model. This was like a real person there in the studio, right?
Hmm. So I work with a famous model actually. I'm missing her name. Deborah. Miss Deborah, who's actually a famous fashion model. And it was the second time I worked with her. And actually, and that's the way I'm working with all CG. I mean, even now with photogrammetry or even with 3D, with Photoshop, whatever, I always based every special effect, every post production on real elements. So here, for example, having her posing, holding the helmets, was a way to create the connections between the helmet and the future cyborg girl, having all the reflections, having all the connections, having um, a body language, which I think the body language tells a lot about the story, tells a lot about to make the difference. Like you can make a 3D generated body, but even now, when you start to do how do you say movement, like catching the movement, so your movement are not fully 3D generated, but based on real natural human movement, and that's the best way I think to make it real. And this is where the cyborg here was. She was fully 3D generated, but based on real movement, real body shape, real light connections and interactions. And that was also my interpretation of cyborg, because we had, I mean, I had the reference of Bjork in mind, and cyborg was very sleek, white, and I wanted something a little bit more authentic. And I thought this girl was just perfect because her body was not, it's perfect, but with its imperfection, I would say. And I like the body language she has, and I like the body shapes she has. And yeah.
It's interesting because like obviously now it's like literally 20 years later, and like all the big production studios are taking on that mindset of like making their animations more real life with that exact same mindset. But the interesting fact is that this shoot happened like 2 decades ago. So, and that is why I think it's pretty iconic, because it was so ahead of its time. Um, I might actually want to like shift a little bit to another, I think, iconic chapter in your career, which was when you started doing work for PlayStation. Um, can you tell us a little bit about how that went? And because these images are, let's say, pretty provocative. They're
That's
not
what.
like, yeah, and so that's to say the least. Hmm. And so, yeah, I would first of all, yeah, sure, you can like tell a little bit of an inside story about how you got connected with PlayStation, but I also want to hear a little bit more about like maybe some of the reactions of like the, you know, the more corporate people thinking it's like, oh, shit, well, maybe we can publish this, and this is maybe too edgy for even for us. So yeah, I wanna dive a little bit more into that.
Yeah, so I mean, PlayStation, that's basically, I if we go back in time, I started photography in like 1998. That's how when I started my career. And in 2000, I was shooting. I was mostly shooting the 2 first years. I was mostly shooting fashion. My idea was actually to be more into fashion photography, but I had the skill of, and I know how to post produce images. I know how to combine and make. I was at that time I wasn't doing the Photoshop myself. I mean, at that time Photoshop was at the very beginning, and you really need to an expert to work on Photoshop. So it was the Photoshop artist was basically like an editor for a movie. So basically I was combining, I was decomposing the shots in like all the different elements I would need, and then bringing it to him, and then asking him, okay, that's the idea, that's the vision I have, that's how I want the picture to be. Here are all the elements. And the guy was like a Photoshop genius and combining all these layers to create the image. So basically, in 2000, I did a very first shoot using, like I was telling you, I think it was yesterday, about this shot where was people and with like digital wings, some kind of architecture wings. And at that time, there was no 3D again. And so we did the whole 3D wings with architect and working with AutoCAD. And that was even before, I think, Photoshop, because at that time, Photoshop, I think, appeared around 2000. And this is when, in 2002, when PlayStation contacted me and proposed me the first campaign. I was actually on holiday, and the agency called me and said, Dimitri, we have a project for you. It's for PlayStation. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes, for sure. And mostly because the shoot were quite, I mean, the original concept was quite shocking. Yes, here we are. Let's come back down one more. This is the original shot. I mean, this one and the next one, the supermarket. Uh, I think these images were all around once they came out. But that was my very first digital shoot. I decided to shoot, and before that, I was still shooting negative. But for this one, I thought, how can I make an image and scanning? Because if you shoot negative, you have to scan every single negative and to combine them afterward. And I thought, what is the best way to combine? Here we have 110 heads in the shot. Most of them are actually appearing 2 or 3 times, and I am myself somewhere in the shot, but you will have to find me. And so how can I combine 110 heads and be efficient in terms of time, editing, post-production? So this is where the digital was like obvious. It's like, okay, negative would have been a nightmare. Do you imagine scanning a 100 film? And I thought, no, I'm going to shoot digital and then combine. And so we went to a supermarket, empty the supermarket, shoot the empty supermarket, and then go back to a studio, recreate the whole perspective, camera height, and then I created some boxes for to align 6 people. I mean, group of 6 people by 6. This was helping me to recreate the light of the shelves. And so basically, people were sliding their head into these boxes by a group of 6 people that we were placing exactly where they should have appeared in the final image. Because I was shooting with a wide angle, and at that time Photoshop wasn't as good as it is now. So in terms of perspective and deformations and less lens distortion, it wasn't good enough. So I had to place every single people exactly where they should appear in the final image. So it wasn't to take one shot of the head and then place it afterward randomly in the shelves. It was like, okay, these guys is going to be on the top third shelf. This other girl will be on the top third shelf on the third or fourth positions. Every single head was shot exactly where it should appear in the final shot. So, and I think during all this time, the only one that had the image in his mind was me. So I was, I mean, I was working with a very close team. The team was very important for me, and I had some fights with agency where I refused a job because I couldn't have the team I wanted to work with. And for this image, for example, I had a team of makeup and hair artists where we had to do that in one day. So do you imagine to make up hair 100 people or maybe 30 people, but 3 times a day? Uh, I couldn't be shooting, lighting, making everything, and directing every single makeup. So what I told my team is like, okay, let's take every single people and increase what you see from them, what their personality is, and just make it more obvious, just make it more caricatural. And this is how every single makeup came for every single people on the shelves. So that guy, for example, on the bottom left, with some kind of vomit, was actually hangover that day, and so it just reminds me like, okay, at the bottom left, yeah, on the bottom, yes, there. Uh, so because it was hangover, I just thought, okay, me might be feeling, how do you say, like sick, and so this is where we put this kind of vomit on the floor. So everyone was like, from his own stories, we were creating a character, uh, and that was quite funny. Then we have the other picture, the rebirth. So these two shots were part of the same series, shot in 2003. Uh, and like you were mentioning, Live the Life before, what was the reaction of the client? I actually never met the client. I only met the agency, and clients have been very supportive in that way, that they were trusting the agency. I think maybe that was they had a very lucky relation, I would say, between client and agency, and the agency was trusting me. So for this first image, for example, I remember that the original concept was something much more shocking. And I really- Hello?
Race car.
Race car. Okay, Romy, you can unmute, please. Thanks.
Happen? Yeah. So uh, so for yes, for that one, I never, I mean, like I was saying, I never met the client. They were trusting the agency, and agency was trusting me. And for this, I mean, the agency say, yeah, it would be great to have something very realistic. And I was like, no, I don't feel this should be realistic at all. I mean, if you make it realistic, it's already a shocking. We're doing something shocking for most of the people. So if we make it realistic and in a real location, it's going to be even worse. So I would say I would use the fashion code from that time, where the skin was kind of shiny and kind of sensual for the girl, where you see the hair on the neck, and make it more sexy than realistic. And I guess this is why this picture won the Grand Prix of Cannes, which is the highest distinction you can have in advertising. It's because the concept is this idea of rebirth. So you're playing as a gamer, you know how it is. You're playing, you die, and you start again, and you start again. So you have this idea of being 30. So you don't need to, you can rebirth being 30 years old as a gamer, but you also inside the game, I mean, inside the game and outside the game, it's like feeling like a kid when you're playing a video game, or rebirth as having new life inside the game. And we're using the code of fashion, so we make it more acceptable in a way and not just edgy. So that's and this picture won the Grand Prix of Cannes, won the Gold Lion, won Clio. Won, I mean, I don't know. Some of you guys might know about advertising awards, but this was like a huge, and that for me was the beginning of like a huge career. Where from that I started to work. I mean, in between US, Europe, Asia, and I was flying like, I don't know, 3 times a month from LA to New York to Paris to Hong Kong to Tokyo.
The golden days of photography, I think.
Yeah, and I've seen the screen afterward when budget were going lower and like
Yeah,
you can fly your team. No, okay, now you can just
hello.
fly 2 people of your team.
I know, I know. Yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
now
I mean,
but we can work remotely now.
yes.
We did all of it remotely back in, I think was, you remember the volcano?
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to do a shoot in LA at that time, and there was no flight at all from Europe to US, not even one flight. And I did a whole shoot from Paris, directing in LA during 2 days. And clients even didn't know that I wasn't flying to LA. They had the final pictures with tigers. I mean, I was shooting a tiger and from Paris in LA.
Yeah, again, these were the golden days of print, far behind us. This is as well, like, I think, a really interesting image. Any thoughts around that, like in a retrospective, or would you like me to pick
Yeah.
another one? I mean, there's so many with
No,
that
I
you.
mean, the series of the 3 next one that you have here.
Mhm.
So that was kind of challenge with me because I worked with PlayStation 5 years in a row. Because basically after we won the Grand Prix of Cannes, they were calling me back every year. And the challenge was not only to shoot a new campaign, but it was also to renew yourself and myself as a photographer, not making just a copy of myself, but making something new. So as you can see, you can recognize the style, but there is also some changes in the aesthetics in the from the first year. That was the, if I remember, that was the second year or the third year. That was probably the third year. And here I was working with a set designer that that just got into a new space. I mean, a new home was some kind of shops like on the ground floor. And when I went to see him, I saw the space and it was full of crap, of things, of I mean, furnitures. Everything was like a big mess. It wasn't a big space, but was like everything was hanging around. And I was like, oh, I love the place. I want to do something. And then PlayStation called, and so I decided I called the set designer. I said, look, could we do the shoot in your home, in your apartment? I don't know how to call it. And it was like, yes, well, yes, why not? But the idea is we're not gonna build anything. We're just gonna go there and make different sets all around the same room. So basically, the 3 pictures you can see here from this one, the next one, and the third one, they are all in the same exact space. It's just changing the furnitures that were around that we create this 3 space inside the one single space. But that were all the furnitures he has around the space. And yeah, we had the TV on here for the skin. I had some model making on the floor. I mean, like some very rough body shapes, but not fully, not a full body. And I had to shoot some carpaccio. I had to shoot some stones. just to create the final texture of the skin and of the yeah. And these were also, and this one was very funny. I had a little fight with that one. I guess everyone understand the concept. I mean, it's basically the, how do you call that? The inflatable dummy. How do you call that? Like the sex dummy or
Sex doll, I don't know. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the sex doll is your PlayStation, basically. That was the concept behind it. So you basically sleep with your PlayStation. Uh, and I told the agency, oh, you know what? I want some paper, like some toilet paper under the bed. And they were like, no, that's too much, guy. And so we had a fight during a time trying, no, the toilet paper is not there. But that was, I mean, that was, we were having a lot of fun when we were shooting that. Like, every time was like, let's try to find, like little stories, little details all around the picture where you can imagine the character. So if you look at every stage, you see here you have, you have an apple that is beaten. How do you say that?
Yeah, it's not so yummy anymore, I think.
It's been it's been really there for 2 days. Uh, in some shots, I could ask the set designer to buy a pizza 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the shoot, and ask him keep it until the shoot, but not in the fridge. Just keep it outside and bring it to the shoot. And that's how you get something very realistic and all these little details that are telling the whole stories about the character. And that's how I like the picture. When you enter, when you look at all these details, like if you jump from not the next one, but not Mr. Potato, but the next one. Yeah, that one, for example. Uh, that one I ask, and that's 20 years ago, so it's okay if I say it. But I asked to have alcohol on set
Oh,
for
wow.
the
The
actors.
models?
Yeah,
Yeah. He
because
looks pretty well suited.
yeah, it's I wanted to have this feel of like real. So they were models, but like they were really, really hangover. Because and I remember the agency was like, but seriously, do you want us to bring alcohol? And we had vodka, gin, and whatever you want. And the agency was like, but we can't. And it was like, but if you want a good shot, that's what we need. So just bring it. And they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, don't zoom too much. But that's so we had was very funny shots, and even the assistant here, the arm on the right was actually my assistant, and she was drinking. And so everyone on set, that's the mood of the whole set. And so to get the shot, to me, that's how you get it. It's you need to the mood around to get it, and there is no other way you can get a good shot. You cannot pretend. Um, that one was in a castle.
Hmm.
Uh, um, so we had, I mean, it's the trio. It's the idea of the trio. But I spent the whole day. I mean, it was very cold that day. I was in an old castle, and I don't know why I choose this place. I think the rooms were kind of, there was something that I like about it, like abandoned, and um was like away, quite remote from Paris. And I spent the whole day shooting. The third guy sitting on the side was actually some kind of handsome guy, and he was fully dressed, and just like regular, I would say. And that's something I do quite a lot in the shoot. But at the end of the day, I wasn't so confident about the final image. I thought something was missing. And I look at my assistant, which is this guy with the mohawk, and say, "Look, Florent, do you mind if you jump into the set?" Yeah, and he's like this for real. I mean, it's not even pretending, or that's the way he was dressed that day. He was always with the very clean white, I mean, blonde mohawk with the Rangers. I mean, the kind of Doc Martens shoes and the belt. That's exactly how he was dressed every single day. And I say, would you mind to take off your shirt, I mean, your sweater, whatever you have on, and just go in the shot? And I swear you, I just do 2 or 3 shots with you, and I will be done. And actually, I mean, I think I did 2 or 3 shots, and that was it. And when I showed that to the client, I was like, that's the shot. I mean, we spent the whole day shooting with the other guy, but that's the one I like. I mean, that's definitely what makes the difference. And the agency was like, yeah, sure. I mean, there is no reason to go back to the original guy that was selected, and that was kind of too clean, too perfect. And and if you look at on the left, I also had some on the left of the image. Yeah, you have the little dog. That wasn't planned at all, also, but that was, I think, from my producer, or so that he came in the shot too, and some shadows also on the side of another guy behind in the on the other room. So these are all stories of little things around. Um,
This one, I assume it's in that same castle or not?
Sorry?
Is this in the same castle, this shot?
No, that was in a very nice Paris apartment, but looking kind of old and I mean, not dirty, but like very ancient, very. But it was super elegant, but rough. But that's how the apartment was, exactly like that, but more as a stylish thing. But the way I use it was like kind of old and dirty, to make it sweaty and sensual, I would say. For this, for example, that's all, again, you see the shapes around the girl. Um, the shapes were actually made like rough, very single shapes with like a pink color texture. And then after that, I shoot guys that were sitting where the shapes were, and then mixing the skin texture with the shapes to create this human mix. I don't know, greasy bodies. And here the concept was that finally, because PlayStation at the beginning was considered as a very male kind of game. I mean, yeah, station. And the here was to say girls can also spend the whole day with a PlayStation, and the PlayStation are becoming like their lovers, kind of. So she's basically cheating on her husband with the PlayStation.
This is also a series I personally like a lot. What was the
favorites?
Mhm.
I love it. Uh, so this one, and the next one were the two versions of one image. Like I was saying, the agency was trusting me a lot. So when they were calling me, they were giving me a full freedom for the direction. So it was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to shoot? Basically, what do you want? And we make it. Um, so for this one, we went to Stephen Mallet house, which is like it's a great architect. The house was just like futuristic, amazing. I mean, futuristic, but from the 30s. And yeah, And so I spent I spent the day shooting. That was the first version I shot. So as you see, the concept is exactly that's interesting to see the difference between these two shots. It's basically the same concept, as you can see, but two different way to interpret an image. So basically, as a photographer, when you're working in advertising, that's what you're doing. They give you a concept, which is the concept of the mold. So basically, every single character can make his own head. That's the idea of the game. And then as a photographer, you can direct and you can create an image. You can create the image like that one with the black background, which was actually during the day, but I put a lot of light. So basically the flash were killing the outside ambience, the outside light. Or you change and you go back to the other one, live the life. If you go on 12, yeah, on the image 12. And that's basically the same concept as you can see, but a different interpretation. And you can see the difference of how you see or you interpret or you understand the image, depending so much of the surrounding of the. This one for me is my favorite because it's connecting to reality. You see a little bit of landscape, even if the shape of the window is strange. You see a little bit of the landscape, so it's connecting this weird scene to something that you know, something that is familiar to you. Versus the other one with the black background is very, you don't know where it is. It's like disconnected from reality. And this is where I had a discussion with the agency. Uh, I actually like the other one better, and client like that one better. But this is one of the case where I understand the point, and I was like, okay, I let you do. But I mean, because I was quite tough when shooting these images, where we can go back to the Mr. Potato. I'm going to tell you a little story of that one. Mr. Potato was actually so now that you've seen the two different one, or I mean the two different interpretation of the same image, for Mr. Potatoes, client wanted to have a very simple white table in front of the guy, and I was like, no, because I don't understand. I don't understand why he would have a white table in front of him. To me, the story makes sense if he has furniture that have like drawers where you can keep your mouth organized, your nose organized. So you have one drawer for the nose, one drawer for the eyes, one drawer for the mouth. And that makes sense. That's telling me a story of a guy that's that is very organized, who has a lot of to deal with different part, I mean body parts. So he has to be organized versus the white table doesn't tell me any story. It's not, it doesn't make any sense to me. And client was, yeah, but your red shelf is too weird. We want a white table. And I was like, if you guys want to do it with a white table, I'm not gonna shoot the image. I won't do it. And we had a 2-week fight where I was ready to not shoot the campaign because I wanted this red shelves and not a white table. And finally, they finally agree on this red shelf, and the image won many awards, like all this PlayStation here. And but this is where I think the storytelling, the position, also it's hanging, it's like staying on your position is sometimes important when you truly believe what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Never question an artist. Someone says in the comment, and that's pretty spot on that specific image.
Sometimes there is no reason. I mean, sometimes there is no. You can't even explain why. It's just like it's like that. That's what I feel, and then maybe the future will say, or you don't know. You never know. And this is an unseen one.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites as well.
That was sick. That was sick, but what happened? That was for PS3, so that's quite a long time ago also. But what happened here is, so we went to this castle. That was a real castle, but furnitures were not good enough. I mean, nothing was good enough. So we empty the room and bring our own furnitures. That was 3D, but same again. I mean, 3D back in 2008, maybe. I think not. That one was 2006, 7. Um, so we create everything from scratch. I mean, basically, you have the room, the structure of the room was there, but then we bring all the sofa, the guy on the wall, the white canvas on the wall, the whole shelves on the right was not even in the place. We created the shelf on stage. And we had this huge casting with all these guys. And like I did on the first, on the, how do you call that, on the supermarket, when you are directing, I mean, when I'm directing so many people at the time, I'm not trying to change them. I'm casting them for what they are, and I'm not casting them for to make them different than what they just are. Because you can't ask people to change, and mostly because they're not fully professional. And because when you have so many people to shoot, so the image is a huge composing, because I think I was shooting them 2 or 3 by 3, something like that. So they were basically all in the shot, but I wasn't focusing on all of them at the time. And then to combine them and get the perfect shot, it's like you take the couple, for example, on the left side, exactly this one on the white sofa. So that's one shot. And then have another shot of the guy leaning on the sofa, and then another shot. So this image is a combination of, I can't even remember, maybe 30 shots or even more. I am myself, the black, yes, that one, that's me. Because I like to appear in my images sometime.
Classic.
Yeah. Actually, I think I'm here, and maybe go back on the left. Maybe the guy leaning on the under the arch on the left, on the right side. Sorry, on the other side of the black silhouette. Might be somewhere around there. No, not that one. The next one on the left. No, I don't know. But so yeah, that was combination of at least 30 shots. Post-production took, I can't even remember, but at least 2 or 3 weeks to combine all the different elements, and to finally discover that, because what are these people doing? They're smoking. I mean, basically, it's like smoking pot. To discover that legally in France, you are not allowed to do any advertising connected to drug or addictions. So basically, this is the whole concept of the image. It's about addiction. And so the image was just banned before even being published. So we produce, I mean, the image has been produced and made and finished until we discovered like that legally we were not allowed to make it.
And it makes it even more special now. I think I think the next series is pretty provocative as well, and actually with a pretty deep meaning here. I let you
Yeah.
give that one some context.
So I like to be provocative, but not necessarily shocking, or I don't know. There is a fine line here where I know it's shocking. I know it is. But here, that was a campaign for to fight against AIDS, or like how do you call that? Like unprotected relations. Uh, and at that time, it was possible to make these kind of ads. I'm not sure now we could do that. I'm sure that if I publish that on my Twitter or on my Instagram, they would ban me forever. Um, so that was actually to tell people to have safe sex, basically. But there was two interpretation possible. And that's why I went to the white with light and kind of luxury apartment, because people at that time were thinking, oh, like sex disease, and this is for dirty people. It's not for me. It's for the others. It's for people that are going out at night. This is for people. It's just for the others. It's not for me. It's not going to be for me. In the last apartment, and this is where I think I was changing the code, like making it on something more acceptable, kind of sexy but acceptable. I was changing the perception of it. And again, most of the images that I'm presenting here were award-winning images, and these ones were also part of that.
Yeah, actually, like both are pretty solid and give that really glamorous feel while still having like a really deep meaning and purpose. Um,
But this is why I like this provocative side, but with using codes again that are kind of, if you make the same image with dark mood and dirty, and it would be nice, but people would just step away from it. So if you're doing a campaign as an advertising, people should look at it and understand you're talking about them and not someone else. If you make it dark and moody, then people will be, oh yeah, that's not for me. That's not where I live. That's not how I live. That's not, my mood. So then the campaign wouldn't work as it should.
Yeah, no, I think it strikes the perfect balance. It really does.
I don't know if we can actually bring people here, or if people might have like some questions. I've seen some really flattering feedback in the chat. Not really specific questions so far, but like really a lot of respect for your work, Dimitri. Um, Obviously, I mean, we can both talk for literally all day, which I would actually love to do. Obviously, we need to stay a little bit respective of everyone's time. We've been going on for I think 3 quarters. I've kind of lost track of time as always when I talk to you. But yeah, I mean, maybe we should also either circle back a little bit. Or maybe have a little glimpse of what we're going to talk about like tomorrow, because obviously all of this has been like really innovative avant la lettre work, um, especially considering the time when all of this was shot, like again, like, this is 20 years ago. um, and so you were the first to make that like on a really high level. You were one of the top 10 commercial photographers in the world, and you were one of the first to take that leap into like digital. And as you explained really well, with especially like the supermarket shot, for example, where you played around with the limitations of back then. Digital had a lot of limitations in terms of like resolution, and then how you applied that limitation with your compositions and et cetera, et cetera. But that, like, fast forward like almost I don't know, maybe whatever, 20 years. We're not gonna count years. Makes me feel too old as well. But you were avant la lettre. You really were ahead of the game again when you started exploring like a really closely tied discipline called photogrammetry, right? Maybe we can like lean in a little bit into that transition, so we can like warm people up for the Monday AMA we're gonna do around like the Genesis NFTs, and let's maybe talk a little bit how we made that transition.
Yeah, before
Yeah.
sorry, Dimitri, we got a couple questions in the chat. I was just hoping.
Oh, fantastic. Go ahead. Please.
Yeah, what I was going to answer, I considered the question and I was about to answer before answering Live the Life. So the first question, is there any other campaign from PS2, PS3 AIDS? Yes, there are. I mean, there are many. One author that I really liked was the Arvin Eccles campaign that I shot in 2008. That I think is quite crazy and was quite. I mean, very. I mean, I really love it because it's a mix of fashion and. The Doc Martens ones. Doc Martens were quite funny because we were using like image bank from famous singers. I mean, the Doc Martin was banned. The whole campaign was censored. So that's an image with Sid Vicious. I had no, sorry, not Sid Vicious. With Kurt Cobain. I had Kurt Cobain. I had Joey Ramones or Sid Vicious. So basically, you can imagine I'm not that old. I didn't shoot with Sid Vicious or I didn't shoot with Joey Ramones, neither with Kurt Cobain. But what happened is that we did an editing to find the perfect shot of Sid Vicious. I mean, of the heads that I had in mind and that could match the images. And the body actually on Kurt Cobain, that's my body. Because I had to find for every single singer to find a body that was matching the head. So every single one we find the body match and post produce an image bank shot from the artist with a body that was matching. There is also a lot of work that is in my personal work where I am exploring techniques, mood, and different things. So campaign, yes, there are a lot that I've done, and personal work and assignments. Someone is asking also how long what's the most time I've spent on a project. So from photography, I have been asked to direct commercial, and I did some. I don't know, quite a few. But the thing is, I'm not very patient, so I didn't like directing commercials so much. I did love the shoot itself of a commercial, where you have a huge team, because that's something I really love, is to manage a team. So when I have 10, 20, 40 people on set, it's fine. And I'm feeling very, very confident, very easy. It's easy for me to direct, but I'm not patient at all with the post-production. So if you ask me to stay for a movie 2 months on post-production for a TV commercial, or I'm like, wow, that's way too much. It has to be quicker. And that's why I like photography or photogrammetry. It's because a maximum post-production would be like maybe the Daft Punk, where it took about a month, or the Black Eyed Peas, where it took another, I mean, I would say between 2 weeks to a month, but not like fully behind. But yeah, maximum would be a month of post production, and then, I mean, the most time I spend is also the time I spend like recently for Olympus on the last the video that will be releasing soon. But this not only because of the project, it's because that was for me one step forward. So I had to learn things before doing them, and so I hope that's answering your question. As a traditional artist, what is your view on NFT technology and its impact on your art and long term? That's an interesting question about from K. Romy. As a traditional artist, I mean, I'm I'm traditional artist, but always leaning toward new technology. I started digital in 2002, 2003. Went to 3D. I mean, start to use 3D in around 2006, 7. The first test I was doing, and photogrammetry since like 3 years. So I think NFT is just what photography was missing. And I was saying actually yesterday to Live the Life, I think I was waiting for NFT to release this collection of shots. Like, you have to understand, like, all these shots, they've been all around. I've been sharing them like on screen as JPEGs or whatever, but I've never make a single print. Um, the first prints that I'm making were from the Daft Punk based on the NFT that they sold. But before that, I never sold a single print of my image. Why? Because I was not concerned. I mean, I was making the images. I was not selling images. I was making images. I was making images that if I can see them on screen, that was enough for me. I'm not the old school photographer that needs to see a print, that needs to see and judge a picture on a print. I was very happy to see it on the screen, and that was enough for me. So the NFT is just like the ownership that I was missing from the digital. And the impact on the long term will be like Adobe is releasing a connection with the Solana blockchain. So you can imagine NFT will be it's just there. It's there is no question about will it be in the future or not. What it's just there, and I think this will save and allow artists to live from what they're making and not lose their ownership of the images. Is the human really kissing? Yeah, if is the human kissing the dog or the goat? No, the girl wasn't kissing the goat at all because the goat just smells so bad, but like it stinks. And I had complaints from the studio because I really shoot the goat that came into the studio, but not at the same time. I mean, not at the same time as the girl. But the studio where I was shooting was like a big studio in Paris where they had like 10 different sets and 10 different photographers, renting everyone a single studio. And from my studio, all the studios around were complaining from the smell. The goat smells so bad that I had imagine on the next studio shooting fashion with Naomi Campbell or someone like that. They were like, what the fuck is the photographer doing next door? It's smelling so bad. I had I mean, people were complaining that day, definitely. And then the guy with the dog, I mean, I guess everyone have noticed that the dog is looking like a girl and the goat is looking like a guy. The goat has a beard, kind of beard, and the dog has long blonde hair. That was so the idea. And the guy was actually really kissing the dog because we were like, but that's disgusting. Why? I mean, I was like, you don't need to do that. It was like, yeah, but you're paying me. That's my job, so I do it. So he was eating some croissant, and the dog was actually digging into his mouth to get the croissant.
That is insane. Wow.
Yes, that was insane. And the guy was like, I was like, you don't need to do that. I can do it in post. I mean, post production, it's easy. Yeah, but I just make it easy for you. You know, you're paying me for that, so it's not a problem. I have a dog home, so that's how I play with my dog. I was like, yeah, but
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't want to know what he does with his dog then.
yeah, no, really. Okay, that's the way the guy was doing. So yeah. Um, Other question. Other question. Do you want to move to? Do you want to move? Yeah. So the step from digital to 3D was just natural to me. I mean, 3D was just a way to 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 achieve better and more deeper into image and creation. How have you ever taught photography? Uh, um, what is the last question? Have
No, yeah, that's kind of like someone who's keen to hear if you ever like did a workshop around photography. Obviously, you're a big inspiration, so I can assume you've had requests for people that wanted to either be your assistant, early stage, but then maybe now later stage, like you know,
I
learn your
did,
skill set.
yeah, I did some. I mean, the many of my photography were studied in the university in the Gobelin. I don't know if you know. It's a photography school in Paris. So I did some workshop and some master class there. But that's yes, Gobelin exactly. So. So I did some at the Gobelin back in I don't know 2010, but I live in Spain now, so I haven't been to the Gobelin since a long time, and I'm more into photogrammetry. So to me, it's almost like learning photography doesn't make sense anymore. Like if I tell you about what I think about photogrammetry, so the step from photography to 3D, and then from 3D to photogrammetry, I entered photogrammetry now 4 years ago almost. Uh, Not convinced at all at the beginning, and but the photogrammetry, it's like a new Photoshop. It's like a new way to create images. We are not still. It's quite a heavy process to achieve something good as a photographer, but it's so convenient. I mean, uh, when you're traveling, you can scan anything around you. So you can scan a tree, you can scan sculpture, you can scan a bull, whatever you want. You can scan anything around you, and then just take it back home. And then you can create your own set, your own. I mean, I've been in my images. That's what I was doing with Photoshop. I mean, creating these crazy images where you have elements coming from everywhere. But it was complicated because light wasn't matching, or even if the light was matching, it's like layers, and you can only use it under one angle, and so it's not flexible at all. Photogrammetry gives you all you were expecting from the photography. So basically, you shoot a statue, you shoot a person, you shoot a tree, you shoot a landscape. So you have it. It's flexible. You can use it under any angle. You can delight the surface with delight, which means you can remove the light and create your own light on it, and you can relight your whole stage and bringing all these elements that are not possible to bring in real life. So you can take something from Texas and mix it with something from the Antarctica, and it will look real because the light will be concrete, will be consistent between the different elements, and that's what photogrammetry is giving. It's like I was saying, it's not. It still needs quite a lot of work, but it is so convenient. It is so and you can create anything you want. You can animate, you can. And why, I mean, when I see my daughter, it's an example I often give, but she's not doing a selfie, she's doing a scan. Why? Because it's so much fun to have your face in 3D and be able to move it around instead of just a flat photo that it's flat. You can't move it, you can't do anything with it. You can do a video, but a video is not flexible. You can't play, it's not interactive, versus the scan, the photogrammetry, it's flexible, it's interactive. You can make AR, you can make, and I just found it creatively, it's limitless. It's definitely for me the next photography. I mean, it's the 3D photography.
And what a journey it has been as well, like to, as we said in the beginning, has been like a creative process for the Genesis collection that, like earlier today, Memetics asked me to dig up a few pictures of the actual, the actual statues that were the origin of this Genesis collection. That has been like literally 10 months ago now. So we definitely took our time to explore literally the white canvas that you are just describing, and that is possible through this photogrammetry. Um, Maybe some little backstory about these images, like early on when we started working, we had like literally like Dimitri was just explaining, like all options were open. Like Memetics was even suggesting we flew to North Korea because there was some kind of an amazing statue up there. And then Dimitri was saying, well, I have some connections in the Louvre, in Paris Museum. Maybe we can do some stuff there. And then I was thinking, well, we should just stay with the roots and just travel to Greece, right? There's going to be plenty of objects to scan. Um, but serendipity came into play, and Dimitri and myself, we fell in love with a couple images that are, statues that are 2,000 years old, that have been auctioned off by Sotheby's in the 90s, and that just had that unique flair, and we were both equally charmed by that. Um, Maybe take us a little bit back to that moment in time, where we were given access by the archaeologues, who then happened to have the images. We were going actually to travel all around the world to find the perfect object, and then serendipity happened that these were not so far away from your actual home, right? And so take us back to that moment in time when you first took a glimpse at these 2,000-year-old statues, and how your head started spinning, because that was literally the genesis of the creative process that we've been enjoying so much the past 10 months.
So yeah, it's exactly what you mentioned. I mean, this statue, this 2,000-year statue, for me, it's I'm entering this new world. I mean, the 3D world, but I want to make photography. I want to be able to own and to control every asset that I'm using. And when you proposed me this project, it was like, okay, I want to do something. I want to do a video. I want to do NFT. I want to do something that is, to me, taking roots from the past with a real respect from her. I mean, from art, from the entire, uh, what do you say, entire. I don't have the word. From its roots, that is taking all the roots from its original source, so which is these 2,000 years old statues that were Roman, but itself coming from Greece. I mean, copy of Greek statues, and using it into a digital world, and combining this digital world with a 2,000-year statues, original statue, not an asset that I'm getting from library, an asset that I decided, that I scan, that I create and own myself. And that is, for me, that is all the importance of the photogrammetry. Is creatively you need to be able to select personally every single asset you're using. When you're doing 3D, if you use assets from a library, it's great, but I think you need I mean, for me, I miss this little impact, this little personal touch where I've used these assets because no one else would have it. And this is what we did with the Olympus project, is to find assets that no one else have it. And assets that has 2000 years history, that were once into a famous palace in Rome, in the antique Rome, and that has been destroyed by some conquerors, and then find out 2000 years later onto under the I mean under the ground, and the archaeologist took it back to the store and sell it to, I don't know, maybe it's going to go to US or Asia, or I don't know. But and having this asset back into a video, using it as a piece of art, it's like creating a whole loop from 2000 years to nowadays. And that's what, for me, it's all the concept, or it's all the what's behind Olympus. Also, it's this concept of loop holding and regenerating things.
One of the interesting things I remember early on, when when you made the very first scan, you were so excited and so
Yeah, and
flabbergasted
when it's
by that,
yeah.
yeah, by the detail that you were noticing, because that scan is so high resolution, that you were seeing the craftsmanship and some details that even with the bare eye you were missing. And so this was like details that were made by the sculpture like literally 2000 years ago, and that you were missing with your bare eyes. And through having that high fidelity, high res scan, you were basically living through his eyes again. That was a magic moment, right?
It's giving me goose skin, you say?
Goosebumps, yeah.
Goosebumps, yeah. Yeah, because I remember when I was in front of this statue, I mean, the one you have here on screen, it's actually about 3 feet high, almost, I think between 2 and 3 feet high. Um, and when I was scanning, I was very, very close to it, and I could almost see the tools that the sculptor used when he was sculpting it. So you can see the difference of roughness between the skin and the hair, for example. And when you look at it so closely, you realize that it's been done on purpose. Why the hair are so rough versus the skin? It's because it's not the weather. It's not, no. It's because the way light is sliding onto the hair has to be different from the skin. So I mean, this picture is pretty bad, but that's all you can feel when you're scanning, when you're shooting the photogrammetry. You can feel all these different texture and understand the work and the gesture of the original sculpture. Uh, and to me, when I'm creating, it's not just to create, it's to feel and trying to translate all this culture behind it, all the 2000 years history that we have behind us, and that is leading to NFT culture. But it's there. It's and that's why the original piece. I mean, I used them in the final video in many ways. So basically, every single video is made from one piece only. So you have the main piece, which is the sculpture itself. with a reproduction of itself, but all the elements that are around is just a recycling of the scan that I've been doing from every single statue. So you'll see, you will have to discover that later on to understand the process, but every single landscape, every single piece around it are made of the scan itself to create the whole elements around. What are the limits of provocation in art? I think I should say to Onyx, there is no, I mean, I don't know if there is a limit in provocation. I guess it depends a lot of the time we're living in. Oops, I'm just realized that my battery are very low. I might have to step out 2 seconds to connect my computer afterward. But just to finish the answer around the provocation, I think it depends a lot where do you live and what are you fighting for? I mean, what are your like? I think we are in a very great countries and we're lucky. But also country might have to fight and be more provocative to be able to change things. So yeah, but a limitation, I don't know. I don't know if there is. It depends a lot of what you want, what the reaction, but you're expecting from your art. Hello?
Yeah, we're still here. You didn't. You probably thought your battery was going. No, that was indeed a really good answer there. I loved your answer as well. Corcus was noting that in the chat.
Sorry, I just stepped out to connect my computer before it crashed.
Of course. Yeah, otherwise you're gonna really drop out. Go ahead, Dimitri. Yeah, while we're waiting, don't hesitate, like, to if you have like additional questions here. Obviously, on the event on Monday, we're gonna dive a little bit more into the Genesis collection. This is the tail end of this event where we make that transition into the subject of what we're so passionate to start leaking on Monday, which is like obviously the Genesis collection. And also obviously like owning one of the Genesis collection will unlock some early access to some of the other images you've seen, and that will be called the Dmitry Danilov archives. But that's a little bit of alpha that maybe I shouldn't be leaking yet. I don't know. Probably gonna get punished now. Anyway, we have Dimitri back.
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
And I have a question. I see a question from Naos about inspiration and if the I think it's a friend of mine recently was saying that to work you don't need to sit 8 hours a day on your desk, and I think it's true for everything and mostly for art. So I think there is the practice that is very important to learn and to practice to know the light, to know the lighting, the camera lens, I would say the technique part. But then creatively, it's for me, sometimes I work with a vision. I mean, with my intuition and with a vision. Like I know there is. I did many work that were not good, and I did many work that were good. I think it's to achieve something. Sometimes you do it and you think, oh, let me try that, and so you need to try, but you're not very convinced. And at this point, it's I mean, for me at least, when I'm not very convinced, I know it's not going to work. It can be a good exercise. It can be interesting to try, but if I'm not convinced about what I have in mind, it's not gonna work. most of my work, either for advertising or personal, they've been great when I had this vision from the very beginning. So it's like it just come to my mind, and I see it clearly, and that's how I want it. And but for this, I don't need to sit for hours. It's just like it just come up to my mind. And so it's two different sides. There is the creation part and the practice part. So practice part is time and learning, and like I've been doing in my work, from photography to 3D to photogrammetry. I learn everything by myself. It's just practicing, and yeah, practicing, exercising, and trying.
And there's also like a clear link between like the photography angle and now your new exploration in photogrammetry, where you were explaining how that for example light techniques and different types of light, you were like making references with the way you were lighting certain subjects back in the day, and that you're taking some of these concepts in the virtuals, in the metaverse as well, right?
Exactly. I mean, this is where I think my experience in photography, I started with the 4x5 camera. 4x5 camera is this. I'm not that old, but it's this camera that you can imagine. You've seen that in the movie where you see the guy digging into how do you say, like a towel or a foulard behind his camera and shooting just one frame at the time. So that's the 4x5 camera. Starting with that, I think, was the best way, the best thing I've ever done, because it's just you can just shoot one photo at the time. It's not like a 35 millimeter camera where you can shoot 36 photo, or a digital camera where you can shoot 200 photos at the time. The 4x5 camera is one shot, and then if you want another shot, you have to remove the film and slide and put it a new film in. But that's one shot at a time, and the price was so expensive that you can't afford to do. I mean, at least when you're assistant. When you're a photographer, that's different. But when you're assistant, you can't afford to do more than, like, I would say 3 or 4 shots to get your final shot. And working with that helped me out to compose one shot and to know exactly what I have in mind. That's a 120 camera. So the 4x5 is just one shot. So when you have one shot in front of you, you have to combine, to compose, make sure every single details are okay, and then ready to shoot it. That's another feature.
First think, then shoot.
Yeah. And I think that was the best school. There is a train. Wow, I love the sound train. The train. Hello?
Did you hear a train? Really?
Yeah. I love this train. This train.
It makes maybe that's when I unmute it. It does sound like a train a little bit. This one?
No, no, it's not from you.
I see.
I don't know.
I don't know as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't see any right now. Maybe we can make this like call it a wrap, because we've been going on for like
Yeah,
I
almost.
think over an hour.
Yeah, hour and a half.
And
I
I
think
think it,
about.
Yeah, this has been amazing,
It's been
man.
great,
It is
great.
Such the rabbit hole, and here we are at the mushroom hole. Thank you so much for sharing.
yeah, it's our pleasure. And you need to stop us, because once we get going, we are like we
Definitely.
can't stop. But I think it is a
That's how we
really
know
good.
you're real artists.
One thing, with that being said, I do appreciate you guys coming into Concave Town and doing this AMA here. It's lovely to see how much homies joined and really listened in. And besides that, Dimitri, I mean, I've enjoyed your AMAs in the past, and it's truly exciting to see a deeper dive into your work and what you have. I do appreciate the time you've taken to do this presentation.
Yes, thank you so much. We
Yeah,
really
thanks so much, J-Man, and the entire team of Concave, for setting up this entire thing, all the support, and literally, this is not just support from Concave and J-Man and his team like today, but that has been the case since literally the birth of Odyssey a year ago. So that's been a long, long, long time that we felt that vibe and that we've had the full support of this crew here present. So I want to emphasize that and say a big, big thank you to all the people also behind the scenes that have helped us set this up. So yeah, I think this is a really cool way to wrap up. And definitely want to thank everyone's presence. We felt it, and we enjoyed reading the comments. And yeah, we can't wait to tell you guys a little bit more on Monday about the Genesis pieces. And yeah, we hope we can meet up again after the weekend. And I would say, yeah, a big thank you, obviously, to Dimitri as well for his time and his commitment, not just now, but the past year, literally, or at least the past 10 months. And yeah, we're super, super excited to share a little bit more what we've been brewing on. And leak some really cool shit on
Yeah,
Monday.
definitely.
So yeah,
And
good vibes, guys.
awesome, thank you.
Thank you everyone here. It was
you,
really
Dimitri.
a great pleasure for me to be here
Awesome.
and share my passion about work and career. It was really great.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'm not sure if Zach or Jay Duan are here. They want to do a small little presentation. They're actually partners. They're the ones running Halls of Olympia. Not sure if they want to do a quick statement, kind of loop you guys in on what they're doing. They've actually partnered as well with Odyssey. I'm not sure if they're on, but if they are, they could come on up. Besides that, we want to make sure to encourage everyone to check around the space. We encourage you to check the notes and the chests and interact and really engage with us on Twitter and through our one-click tweets. There's also a chance to win a mushroom. The door is over here by the light on the left side of the map. The door is actually going to be opening up on Monday the 14th. That's when the Genesis reveal will be happening. So make sure you check in again at Concave Town and feel free to browse. The whole town. If you take the portals, you could take the mushroom trip. You could take the other portal. You go to the NFT museum. Just browse the town. Feel free to engage with the notes around everywhere. Say it again.
That's what I took at the mushroom trip.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It came out so good. I was so happy with it. I was like, oh man, this is perfect. It truly gets the feel of the mushroom trip, and it was awesome. But even outside of this area, if you take the teleporter on the top left, it'll take you to the NFT museum. You can browse other galleries. You can browse the whole town. There's lots of stuff in the town you can engage with. We're actually doing at 5:30 in about an hour. I'm sorry, about 30 minutes. We're going to be we do karaoke's every Friday. We're actually going to be doing karaoke live performance from 5:30 p.m. Eastern to about 8 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to roam around and find the community hub. In the community hub, you will be able to just engage and do some karaoke with the other community members in here.
Before I jump out, J-Man, I just want to say thank you again to you and the entire Concave team for facilitating this. We love this whole Gather Town experience. Definitely, if you haven't checked it out, everyone, go take a mushroom trip and explore this thing. It's super well built. It clearly took a lot of sweat equity and imagination to put all this together. And it just really underscores why we value Concave so much as a primary partner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And anybody's free to talk. Feel free. Just unmute.
Yeah, you can unmute. You can come on up to the fire over here. There's actually a spotlight. You can keep talking up here if you'd like.
What's the website?